parents with real life kids work through the college planning process and just try to make it simpler. I'm here with my co-host, Bobby Hood. And Bobby, how are you doing today?
Just great. Happy to be here. Looks like we've got a really great, fun topic today.
Well, I know that you probably run into this. I definitely do with my clients. You know, we've got, I don't know, every 17-year-old boy loves gaming. And I know as a parent, I see my kids hunkered down all the time using their devices. And I've got to tell you, I've also talked to some moms that their kiddos are having a hard time in college because they're getting sucked into that and they're using their devices. They're gaming all night long. They're not getting up in the morning and going to class. So we wanted today to talk about how do you recognize that and what's it look like, and you know, how do we help these kids through this and help them understand?
Oh, there's some odd microphone noise happening. There's something really loud happening.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you again. I don't know what was happening there with the microphone. So make sure I can hear you still. Nope, I'm not hearing you. You might need to switch to your internal mic or to a different microphone. Yeah, so when I was in, when I was a younger person, I certainly played my share of video games, and actually during this time of being isolated at home, I went and pulled my my old Nintendo Switch out of the closet, and I've reinstalled it. I actually downloaded Animal Crossing and started playing it because everybody was telling me how great Animal Crossing is, and I can see how I'm a little back into the addictiveness again. That's a pretty great game. So I can see how like everybody right now, especially, is back into gaming a little bit. So are you back on now? No, I still can't hear you. Let's see if we'll get you back in a moment. And then, so we're going to have an excellent guest today. So Madlin Mangrum is coming to talk to us about, what she does is she is a digital wellness coach, and she helps students really work with these kinds of issues. Oh, it looks like you're getting your, yep, almost. And so if you want to bring Madlin on, Kristin, then we can go ahead and start talking about what Madlin does. So I'm really excited about this. Okay, so Madlin, so tell me about, so we're so glad to have you here today. And so,
thank you.
So this is really exciting, especially now during this time. The idea of, to me is really exciting. Like I have a friend who is a video game designer, and he's really interested in what, the ethics of video game design, and what and how he tries to work on, he has a vision of making video games that actually can be helpful to students of all different backgrounds, and video game designs that can tell stories that are accessible to different communities, and different students of different backgrounds and things like that. And this is something that's happening in the newer age of the different communities, like the LGBTQ plus community, the African American community. There are video games happening for that. So that's something I'm personally interested in. I just think is really, so I really feel like that video games aren't a bad thing, that they have lots of positive things in the world, and that's just my position on but I think a lot of parents are a little worried about that, and that's what College Planning Untangled is about, is saying there's so much complexity in the world, and there's so much complexity in the college planning process. We're all worried about how complicated this is, and that's, I think, what the question is for today is, it's complicated. Is my student being involved in loving video games, is that a problem? And so just tell us about yourself, what you do, what your thoughts are on all this. Just so happy to have you here. So tell us about yourself.
Hey, Thank you so much. Well, my title is I'm a digital well-being coach, and also call myself a screen life balance coach.
Oh, cool.
But my background in a nutshell is that when I said I do 28 years ago, I married a gamer and didn't know it. And so, yeah, my husband is a genius, super smart. So he would play these empire building games for hours after work or all night, then go to work the next day and repeat, repeat, repeat. And I didn't notice because I was literally in the middle of law school when we got married.
Mhm.
So I was very busy myself. So it wasn't until year 2 or 3 of being married that I was like, wait a minute. Like, he's not here for me. He's over there engaged in conquering these things and getting camaraderie and fulfilling all these desires, I guess, through gaming. So
Oh, wow.
I'm on the other side. I'm not I mean, I'm not that pro gaming as you are, and I don't think most people, college kids or high school kids, are looking for gaming to do good in the world. Where you just
Right.
what you've described that your friend does, like, I want to talk to him because that sounds amazing, right?
Yeah.
To use game to do good, and there's ways to do that, but unfortunately, 93% of teen boys and up are gamers, and 83% of girls are now, and they're spending the equivalent of a part-time job gaming. And these are not games that are enhancing their lives, for the exception of creating community and camaraderie per se, but
Sure.
they're fulfilling their sense of accomplishment, their sense of making something happen, the sense of conquering. They're fulfilling those in the online world. And then here in the real world with us, what are they doing? What is the result? Right?
Yeah. And I
So
think
that's
this
where
is,
I'm driving
yeah.
at.
Yeah, I think this is really important because I think that's why my friend, is so interested in this is because so much of the video gaming world has such dangerous, pernicious, bad effects. Over the past 20 years, video gaming community has, has grown out a lot of anti-female, a lot of bullying, a lot of addiction, a lot of behaviors that are really
Predators.
dangerous. Yeah, a lot of predatory behavior, and
Predators
so
online, literally in your kids' brains. They literally are
absolutely
talking to them and
right, and
luring
so
them.
absolutely. And so that's why I'm glad that there's a very small part of the community that's trying to make a very small little category of video games that's trying to do good. And so I believe that they can be good, but I think a lot of it can be bad. And that's why, I mentioned in the intro that I started playing this game Animal Crossing, and I wanted to mention that. I don't know if you've heard of it, but Animal Crossing is just the sweetest, nicest game as far as I can tell that's ever existed. It's where you just walk around in this happy little world alone and pick up flowers and decorate your little tent and things, and it's just wonderful and sweet, and it seems like the most perfect game to be made for this time. It is a game where you could spend lots of hours, but it seems like they have eliminated a lot of those negative things, but still come back to, you can spend way too many hours doing this, right? And that's what you work with students, part of what you
Right.
work with students about. So tell us more about
Right.
that.
Well, again, there are kids that at home they have limits because mom and dad set limits, right?
Sure.
And so they go away to college, and then there's no more limits. It's like they can hang out and play games all night long, and like Kristin said, they don't show up the next day to class because they're tired. They're sleeping in, so that cycle can continue. And I mean, personally know of friends who let their kids got full ride scholarships, and they lost their scholarships because they were gaming, like literally, and that's happening over and over and over. To the point, I know a mom in particular, she went to pick up her son at the end of the first semester or second semester. Her son was emaciated, like he looked like a drug addict. And on the way home, he says, "Mom, I think this game did something to me." And she sent him to the military because there was no way she was going to send her son back to that, right? And now there's now rehab centers where people are sending their kids for 4 to 8 to 12 weeks to literally
For
detox.
gaming rehab.
And,
wow.
oh yeah.
See,
oh yeah.
Now this is fascinating.
You know
This is just fascinating to me because, you know, I mean, I guess when I went to college, and I think what all of us our age would think about is like the big concern was when you go off to college, if you have not had much experience with alcohol or drugs or things like that, are you going to go and then drink alcohol and then get lost in that world? And I think many of us had to, like, college was navigating that world and learning how to navigate that world, right? And
right.
and it was and parents had some responsibility in some way to try to, and did say, okay, people are going, there are going to be all these parties and you have this choice and you can go to the party, you cannot, and you have to choose to go study sometimes instead of going to the party. And parents, like, no, we know to tell students that, but we don't know, we forgot to say, okay, you have to make the choice between the game and the party, and we don't realize that gaming is the same thing as that. I did not think of that. And teaching students, and so teaching students the responsible habits in the same way, you just have to think about it that way. That's fascinating. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. So we have to start training them when they're home, right? Because 1 in 11, mostly boys, but 1 in 11 will be so addicted to gaming that they literally, their life will be destroyed, as though they were a hardcore alcoholic or drug addict. It will be that destructive. And so we have to start at home. And Kristin and I have talked about this. Number one, you know, will always be 3, 4, 5 apps behind our kids, right? So our defense as a parent is connection, is my opinion. The opposite of addiction is really connection. And so we have to have that relationship with our kids. The technology conversation has to be an ongoing conversation with our kids, and giving them a sense of purpose and direction. Like, going to college is not the end. Going to college is a milestone, a road, a path to get to where you're gonna go. So training our kids to give them a vision for where they're going, and then developing their strengths, right? If they discover their strengths and what they have, they know their personality. Now there's the Enneagram, the strengths test. Like, if we give the kids a sense of identity, and this is who I am, versus my identity being I'm a gamer, or my identity being who I am portrayed in social media, right? The more likes I get, the more I'm gonna do that thing, which may not be a good thing. So that's what's gonna give them the fortitude, resilience, resolve, if you would, to say, okay, that's enough. These are the limits. Like, make a plan before you go to college about this is the one game I'm going to play, and this is the days I'm going to do it, right? I can binge on the weekend, maybe, but during the week, during class time, I'm going to limit it to this. I mean, that's an example. And for my son, I mean, I have a teenager at home, and he didn't start video games till he was almost 12. So I delayed. That's what I tell parents of younger kids. Because get them to be involved in other things, experience a lot of things, because I think what they're wasting is bandwidth. If they're playing games, they're not doing other things, right? So those are the things that I advise, to make priorities of things like sleep, super important, right? So they can function.
I mean, so there's a couple things. I mean, one, I mean, to some extent, this is like it always is, right? Just somewhat about just teaching that moderation and balance is what we need in life, right? And I mean, that's certainly part of it. And how do students respond to this? I mean, how do you help them learn that they need this balance and this moderation?
Well, and again, I'm dealing mostly with parents of high school and younger kids. it's all about, it's about teaching them your values, right? Transmitting your family story, your family identity. You know, for us, it's like, since my kids were born, we are the Mangrums, and this is who we are, right? Boom, 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 boom. So building that sense of identity and family identity is very important. Getting your kids engaged with others. Again, like if we're gonna curve on the video games, then we have to give them positive alternatives. And positive alternatives would be a lot of time with their friends doing real things. So bonding over real activities, bonding over projects, literally going to serve other people, like getting that satisfaction of I can make a difference in the world. You know, that's what I recommend to parents. So that gaming is for my son, he's 16. Gaming is just something I do every once in a blue moon. It's not a part of, like, he can do it or not.
Yeah.
As opposed to some of his friends, it's like it's gotta be there every day.
Yeah, that's interesting. So this is absolutely fascinating, because I think so many parents out there would not have thought like this. Just probably isn't on their checklist at all. They just think, oh, my student's just, you know, he or she just, you know, off, you know, video gaming a lot, and I don't know anything I can do to stop that, other than probably all they're doing is a lot of scolding or yelling, and probably that's not the constructive, positive way to go about it, which is trying to create alternatives and structure and focusing on, I guess, connection. Community is what you're sort of saying, right? Is connection with friends, creating structured things to do that are outside. You know, that is really, really that's really fascinating. I think it would be a lot of fun to get you connected with my friend and talk about those, because
I love to. I would love to talk to him.
There are, like, I don't know, this is a thing, you know, that I think, oh, this is the thing I was thinking of earlier too, which is right now, while everybody is sort of in this limbo of a couple of months where they are all at home, and also it's sort of like a all bets are off, rules are suspended 2-month period kind of thing, right? It feels like, right, where at least everybody seems to have had a 2-week period where they're like, okay, everybody's staying up late and doing whatever, and then now it seems like a lot of families are now reestablishing rules, and school is starting again in online format, and they're starting to have rules again. But it seems like right now could be a period where perhaps there are some students out there who were taking, like, gaming was a responsible and structured part of their life, and then perhaps during this period they might suddenly be gaming way too much when they weren't before, and so suddenly some gaming addictive behaviors could be coming out or starting right now, and parents might be suddenly surprised when this period ends that they suddenly have a gamer that they didn't have in their household, and that could be a really distressing thing to find out. So might need to contact you after this, you know, to learn some strategies for coping, right? And I think
there will be the temptation to make this a long snow day, but it's not, Mom. It isn't. We need to, more than ever, in a way, they need to set boundaries. I've heard it both ways. I've heard moms saying, you know what, my kid had not touched the trombone or their instrument for months, and they played for 3 hours, even, you know, instead of gaming, or they went outside, or like, you know, some kids are reacting differently, or they're having a lot of Zoom meetings with their friends. So I would say prioritizing connection, skill building. I mean, you know,
and that's
find out what they love, and find out that YouTube channel, masterclass, whatever, pay money for them to learn something they absolutely love.
And Madlin, you brought up several times that, you know, creating videos and giving them that outlet and not just absorbing and taking in all the time. You know, let's make it a little bit healthier, right? Use their creativity.
Right. Producing something instead of consuming. So producing a game, producing art, my son happens to be a filmmaker, and that's what he does. So he has a lot of screen time. but it's
Well,
screen time where he's writing his script, producing a podcast, creating a feature film, short film. I mean, yeah.
We've been watching,
let them find that.
Right? We've been watching some TikTok, and I think watching those families get together and produce videos together, I mean, that's fun, good, wholesome ways to use video. I've got something that I wanted to bring up to you. Gallup has done a lot of studies on what students should do when they do go to college to make sure that they stay really healthy. And I think for parents to know this, it would be helpful to share with their students as well, because there's really 6 areas that they have figured out are important for students when they go off to college, right? One's centered around mentors. So it's having a professor that made them excited to learn, having a professor that cared about them. And then the third was having a professor that was actually mentoring them. And so one of the things that I talk to parents about is make sure your student actually does go up and meet their professor.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge.
Build relationships. Yeah.
Build his eyeball thing again, right? And then the second is all centered around projects. One is making sure that they're really active in extracurricular activities in their college. So that's not in your dorm room gaming, it's getting out and doing sports, joining clubs, you name it. The second one under projects is that they had an internship or a job that allowed them to apply what they were learning. And then the third is that they had a project that took a semester or more to complete, which I think is really cool. But I think that's more about you're going to college for a reason and you can get really involved in it and see if it's something you love. So those are 6 ways that parents can talk to their kids about, here's how you're going to be successful in college. I don't know if you got more to say on that, Madlin.
I love the create a relationship. I think in college, I was scared to go to my professors. I would just stay back and do my thing, But now I think, oh my gosh, what an opportunity, what a lost opportunity, because it's going to be actually very few students, right, that are going to go up there and ask those questions. And that professor is going to take an interest in them. If this is pick their favorite subjects, right, and go to the professors for more questions and more curious about what about this, what about that, and find those small groups, or go to the professor as a small group, actually go in community and get that feedback and relationship building. I love that. I think it's great. And also the internship, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I love too that you brought up, if you don't feel comfortable going up and talk to the professor on your own, get a wingman, right?
Right. Okay, now I have I have a whole bunch of things here now that have occurred to me while y'all were talking. Okay, so I have a few things that all relate together here that I want to throw out. So one thing is, okay, if you've got a student who's super enthusiastic about video gaming, something that we've just been talking about here is that's a lot of enthusiasm and energy this student has. And one of the things that you can do is, I think, and I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts on this, is be directing that enthusiasm and moving it in a different direction, right? So one of the things is, you were talking about this, Madlin, is like your son, you said, is making videos and things, and right?
Filmmaker.
Right.
He's an award-winning filmmaker.
Oh, that's wonderful, right? And so one of the things, like I did a few years ago, I think 3 years ago, I was literally kind of bored one weekend. I didn't have enough tutoring going on. It was right after the tutoring season had ended. And I literally sat down and I went and I said, because my friend was learning to design video games, the video game designer. And I said, well, if you're learning to design video games, I'm going to do that too. And I searched and I found a free website that has a video game designing thing, and it's called coronalabs.com. Like I went there. It has a little tutorial where you can learn to design video games for phones, and in 3 hours you can make a little game where you shoot a rocks with a spaceship gun, and in 3 hours you can design a game that you can literally put to an iPhone, and you have a little game that you made yourself using the programming language Lua on Corona. And then I did that, and then it took me about 2 months more of moving around. Now, when I was a child, I learned programming languages, so I had some experience, but I designed an app that you can use to self-proctor SATs and ACTs. And like now it's out on apps on the iPhone store, SAT Audio Proctor, ACT Audio Proctor. You can proctor your own SATs and ACTs with this thing just because I was bored one weekend and said, I want to learn how to program apps for the iPhone. So a kid who's interested in video games, right now, go to coronalabs.com and tell them, hey, go make your own video game. Because my friend who was a tutor for the MCAT, he did that and then went to school, and he's now designing video games, and he has a video game that is available on the Nintendo Switch. So redirect that enthusiasm. If you like games, then go learn to make games, right? And then that, and also now just a couple other things, right? As a tutor, I constantly explain to students how taking the SAT and ACT is kind of like playing a video game. So that enthusiasm can be redirected in some ways. But now, Kristin, what you do is help students figure out their career paths. Last week, Kristin, you took me through the Gallup Strengths survey, and she takes students and she looks for that gleam in their eyes of things that get them excited. And she saw how excited I get about nerdy things like learning information, and I get all excited. Well, if a student gets all excited about playing video games, I'm sure are some Gallup strengths that match to those kinds of things, and those things can lead you to particular career paths, right?
Yeah, and Bobby, I work with a lot of students that are so interested in gaming, and as you know, that's one of the criteria of having a great life, right? Is looking at something that you really enjoy and being able to do that every day. Exactly. And I kind of look at, and Madlin speaks to this quite a lot, and nobody's saying, not that you were, but nobody's saying that gaming is evil. It's kind of one of those.
Some are. I'm sorry. Some games are evil. I get it.
Agreed.
But there's a place for it. We're not saying don't do any of it. It's have some balance. I kind of look at it like food. Like people that are trying to diet. Food, you have to have it. It's not bad, but if you use it for evil, then you're going to have challenges. Yep. So I kind of look at it that way. And we can't, video and gaming is a part of our world, and it's going to be a bigger part of our world. So how do we, just make it healthy for kids? And I love it when they were like, Kristin, I love gaming. I'm like, that's awesome. There's so many opportunities within that gaming world. I mean, look at Madlin, what your son Joshua has been doing. Amazing stuff, and it's fulfilled his life. I mean, he gets so excited. He has won a lot of awards. And by the way, if you go to my website, it has nothing to do with work. But keep going, Madlin.
Here's the thing. The assumption is that, to me, we have an assumption about keeping kids entertained from the time they're little, right? And so we live in a world that entertainment has such a huge part of our lives. I think parents can consider something different. Like if 93% of teens and up are playing gamers, they game on a regular basis. Well, there's 7% who are not. And those are going to be our surgeons, our scientists, our doctors. They're going to get the Nobel Peace Prize. Those are the kids that are going to go do something that's going to impact the rest of us. Like those kids are going to rule the world, in my opinion. The ones that are not gaming, like gaming doesn't have to be, like you don't have to. And I think the assumption that it's theirs, therefore you have to do it. I don't know. I just want parents to think there's an alternative. There is, because there's literally millions of things. Like the kid who's going to be an Olympic athlete, he's not going to be a gamer. I guarantee 100%. You, he's not playing video games. So if you want to be the best of the best at something, 100%. Gaming might not be for you.
I absolutely agree with that. Like there are so many other things too, and that's why I suggest the redirecting, because it's not going to it. No matter what the enthusiasm is, saying you are not permitted to that is unlikely to. Saying you just can't do that, that doesn't work, right? But saying, okay, you like this, let's let's do this thing that is similar to that, but do this other thing, right? And that's sort of like, you know, like my friend the other day, like we were doing a Zoom video call, and we played an interactive game that you can play among people. That's kind of like a trivia based sort of game. It's kind of like that old game Balderdash, where you make up definitions and vote who makes up the best fake definition of a word. And so that's sort of a video game, because we were on a Zoom call, but it's like a game you can play interactively among friends, and it had a video game element to it. But I was like, this reminds me of what we did when I was in high school, playing Pictionary and like Hangouts, that Hangouts thing app, you know, like people are doing that, and they're playing Pictionary, and they're playing that interactively among a group. And I'm like, yeah, and playing charades and things like that. And I'm like, okay, now that yesterday with me. Right. See, that is a community thing that is using screen technology and video gaming technology, but that's a community thing that is generating connection and friendship. And that is where I'm like, okay, that's redirecting. And I really think that's the kind of, and that's what you can encourage your students right now. If they're sitting alone playing a game that is a solo game, say no, get all those friends from high school, get together. And I think that game is called Jackbox, is a thing you can play over Zoom that is an interactive thing that's like Balderdash and stuff like that. It's interactive community friend building. That is a way to it's still a video game. You're still on a screen, but you're connecting with your friends who you can't see right now. That's the kind of directing that I think would be a positive way out of the sitting solo for 12 hours playing the new Doom or whatever, you know, which, you know, like that's my thought.
Agreed.
You know?
Agreed. And what I suggest to parents, what I did with my son, is he could only play one video game, and we chose which one that is, Star Wars Battlefield or something. Anyway, whatever the game was, one at a time. And my preference was if his friends actually, which we can't do right now, but his friends actually came to the house, and they all would put their computers around the round table and play the game. So they were physically present, and they were playing this game. And I'm telling you, it was super fun to watch them go crazy, right? So now if they play those games, play them with their friends and have some kind of limit. And then go off and do, I like the one you talked about. That's perfect, because they're seeing really them, they're engaging with them, and then they're doing something together.
Yeah, if you look over my shoulder, you might see a Han Solo and Chewbacca little poster back there in the background. So I did like the Battlefront. I also have a my friend the gamer did give me for my birthday last week a birthday gift, which is a Baby Yoda
the
Mandalorian. So yes, I have not yet put that up, so I'm very pleased with my birthday gift.
Oh wow, look at you.
Quite nerdy. That's also I can't, I'm not see now. Oh,
I can't see.
Yeah, that's also a Harry Potter and a Hermione back there. If I can, I can't. It's so hard to do. Yeah. Oh, you can't see that. You can't see it in the way that. Oh, I see. You can't see it. I can only see it. There's the Han Solo and the Chewbacca.
Oh wow! Look at you.
My nerdy.
Okay, you're a true fan.
Anyway, sorry. Yes, I'm at that age. Sorry. So anyway. So hard to center yourself on these things. Anyway, sorry, that was a little silly side thing there. But anyway, this has been amazing. So tell people how they can, like, I know Kristin and I always say we love for people to get in touch with us, ask us questions. Like, you know, we are here to help people. And certainly, of course, you know, I tutor people for a living, you know, for the SAT and ACT as well as grad school tests. And Kristin helps students, you know, with the career, figuring out their career paths and what they should do and what majors they should choose. And but also we'll just answer questions from people anytime. And so tell people how they can get in touch with you, Madlin. This has really been excellent.
So they can go to unplugfamily.org and message me through there, or they can just go through Facebook, Madlin Mangrum. And I have a page called Unplugged Family. So they can go like that page. I have a group called Unplugged Family Group. And basically I just help parents to put technology in its proper place at home. That's bottom line. And how to raise
really great.
what I call healthy digital natives, right? Kids who are wise about tech and use it for good.
And I'm sure you can tell, Bobby, but Madlin is just one of those people that just is always positive and so welcoming to people. And, you know, definitely a wealth of knowledge on this subject for sure. So if you need her for speaking as well, you know, like if you've got any moms groups that need speakers, reach out to Madlin.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I can do it online too.
Well, that's great. And so, yeah, College Planning Untangled, we've got, videos every Thursday now and every other Thursday, other times right now during this, just we're sort of doing it every Thursday. And so you can go back and watch all these videos on YouTube. You also, if you're watching this right now, please type in the comments like hashtag replay so that people know that these videos are being watched. And that's it. And also come on Thursdays and watch us live because you can interact, ask questions, and we're always happy to respond live and answer questions. So what other things should we talk about, Kristin? Anything else?
I think we're good. Madlin, did you have anything to say before we leave?
We're good. We're good.
All right. Well, you can always find me at bobbyhoodonlinetutoring.com. And thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
For calling me.